The compressor saga continues, but I think I have some good news about this latest iteration. So quick backstory in case you haven't seen the videos. So the original aluminum line that went to here had just this little crimped area with an O-ring, and that kept failing on me. Eventually, I got sick and tired of it failing in the middle of a job, and I decided to replace it. And I used a flare instead of the O-ring. But the flares kept busting off the end of this 3/8 HVAC aluminum line. And I did a bunch of things to try and dampen the vibration, but ultimately I came to the conclusion that's probably just the wrong material. I think aluminum, has embrittlement problems. And so the more it vibrates, the stiffer it gets, and the stiffer it gets, the more likely it is to crack. So I actually swung by a hydraulic fitting store here in town in Chattanooga, and I was just totally perplexed that they did not have these fittings and they didn't have a flexible line. And basically all they could offer me was actually something I came up with. He literally said, like, sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. And then I offered an idea that he said, yeah, we could do that, but it would just cost a lot of money. So it was going to be like a $60 custom-made hose. And then I realized brake line, the 3/8 inch brake line would be an option. So I swung by the auto parts store and I bought two. While I was there, I bought some copper and some steel. And the steel was my preference, and my flaring tool that I need to use to make this, basically it was so hard to flare this that the pipe kept slipping in the fixture instead of actually doing the crimp. So I could have probably heated it and then done it, but I just thought, well, I'll give the copper a try first. So that's what I have in here now. Copper's kind of nice. You can basically bend this by hand. Now, you may not be able to get this 180 without kinks. And actually, I did get a little kink here, but it's very rare that I need this thing to run at full blast where the compressor continues to run. So the volume lost by that kink is not a big deal. And we're going to see how long this lasts. And if it lasts a good long time, I'll leave it, and maybe even I'll remake it to get rid of that kink. But anyway, this is 3/8 copper. I think it was like $12 or something at Advanced Auto Parts, and it takes the flares pretty well. And this has been working now for a little while. If there's a newer video than this, then you know that it failed. But hopefully that's not the case. The other thing I was going to mention is I had some leaking coming out of here. In here is the regulator plunger. It's got this weird square cut seal that nobody has in stock, of course. And I've messed with that a lot. I've cleaned it. But one thing I did that seems to be working pretty good is I just used a thick, high temp, like wheel bearing type of grease. And just that thick grease will just help fill in any of the little gaps. And the downside, if this thing is leaking, is basically your whole tank will leak out overnight. So then you got to run the compressor. But it's not the kind of failure that will keep, it's not the kind of failure that makes you throw this thing away. It just is really annoying. So anyway, some of you may be wondering why I haven't just bought a new compressor yet, why I keep messing with this. And there's a couple of answers for that. One of which is I bought this for $200 on this date. And I think they're $350 now for the same model. And I just really don't want to spend the money on that, especially when something so small and essentially insignificant is broken. It's not cost prohibitive. And the other reason is that it is good for one's brain to solve problems. And when the only solution you have is click buy it now on Amazon, at some point your skills, your ability to think, improvise, innovate, invent, they deteriorate. And I've no longer working. I'm retired now, and so I don't have to solve some of the complex problems like I did at Volkswagen that took me, 2 or 3 years to solve. And so even though it annoys me and I really do want to just buy a new compressor, there's something good for the brain about changing the material and the shape and the trajectory and the geometry and all of those things. It's good for the brain to troubleshoot. So you don't really want your life to be completely devoid of problems. You need a couple problems to keep your brain sharp, I think. And so even though it annoys me, I'm just trying to look at it as an opportunity to stay sharp and keep my thinking cap on. And hopefully in other circumstances where this machine costs $5,000, or when I'm in a place where you can't just buy it now, then I'll have developed some skills that help me solve problems a little bit more cost effectively. So anyway, it's kind of boring stuff. If you don't have this compressor, you're probably not interested in this. But if you do, I would skip all of this aluminum line and just go right to copper. Or if you have a way to flare steel, then try steel. And check back later to see if there's any updates. Hopefully there won't be. Take care.